And welcome back to the Morning After here on TMA STL on our YouTube channel, which is just blowing up. So much content. Just download our app. Just download our TMA app, and you can find all of our platforms and listen to all the best of TMA, all of my interviews, Tim's interviews. Tim's are much better than mine, but all of our interviews are up there. The one I just did with Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad is up there. And this one will be up shortly, and I'm looking forward to it. She is a St. Louis girl, St. Louis native, and she's going to be back in town, the Stiefel Theater, this Saturday at 7:30. The lovely and the funny Kathleen Madigan. Maddie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. I'm very excited to be in St. Louis for the whole weekend.
When was the last time you were back? Because I know, we didn't really do anything for 2 years, but...
Well, I was up there just with my family and cousins and all that. I'm up there all the time, and then a lot of time down in the Ozarks because my folks are down there and blah, blah, blah. So basically, you can find me somewhere on Highway 70.
Yeah.
One of my sisters in Jeff City, a brother in Columbia. I've got the whole thing. If I could just get some relatives in Kansas, I could make it all the way to Colorado and never have to spend money on a hotel. And
you're in Nashville now, so you're not that far away. Different from being in California.
No, yeah, it's a lot better. It's right down the road, and the roads are fine in Missouri, Illinois, and Tennessee. It's Kentucky, and I blame it all on Mitch McConnell. It's the only bad part of the drive. I don't even know if he's responsible, but I like to say it out loud in the car.
Well, people blame him for everything anyway, so I'm with you there.
Yeah, why not?
Hey,
he's 150. He won't know.
I want to get into that too. I mean, these politicians are way too fucking old. I mean, there's got to be an age limit on these people.
I said to my parents, they're both 80. I go, do you guys think you could be president? and my dad goes, do you mean individually? I said, as compared to what? He goes, well, as a couple, we function at about a 70-year-old. But individually, no. I mean, there's days I don't remember anything. Your mom remembers it all, and then vice versa. No, absolutely not. These people, even normal old people go, yeah, maybe not anymore. But there's no, like the guy from Iowa, Chuck Grassley, he said he's 87, and he put on Twitter in November he's running again. No, Pawpaw. No, you go home now. You go back to Iowa. Like you're somebody's grandpa. Don't they miss you? It's just, I think it should be like, I'm stretching it saying 80, but I'll say 80. I'll be kind, and I'll say 80, but really I'd probably say 75.
And there's no way he tweeted that himself.
Oh, well, sometimes he does, because you can tell he does because he signs it. He was tweeting about a pigeon. You really should follow his thing, because a lot of it makes no sense at all. And then I know he got a hold of the phone, and then he signs it, sincerely, Chuck Grassley, not even realizing. And then occasionally there's one that makes a lot of sense and has a link, and I know a kid did it. Like somebody's,
there's no
some
way
intern. Yeah, no way.
Look, I'm not old, and I have trouble with links.
Yeah, you can tell who's doing what. I think they're all, and who are you presented with? Like Bernie Sanders? I mean, Bernie, I had a soft spot for him because I always felt like whenever he got somewhere, he always looked like he was just involved in a car accident. Like, he's just so disheveled. Bernie's like from the Bible old. Like, this is crazy. I don't know where the young people are, or maybe the old people just keep them out. Keep their thumb on them and keep them down, and you don't get to do anything until I say so, I guess.
You can expect a lot more of this on Saturday night. Because I know your material is usually about, everyday stuff that happens to you, your family. You have a big family, with your siblings and your parents, and a lot of your comedies that. But since, we were kind of locked down for a year and a half, and now getting back out and doing stuff without giving your show away, where did you get material from with not being really doing anything for a year and a half?
Well, that was the crazy part. Like, it was so extreme for some people. Like, I have a sister-in-law who's a nurse, and another cousin that's a nurse. Like, they had to work triple as hard, and it was crazy and awful. And then, like, comedians and other people, I was told by the government to stay home and watch Netflix, and I nailed it. I'm just going to say I could even deserve a medal because I went beyond Netflix. I went to Hulu and Paramount Plus. It was very, very strange. So, like, I have a lot of material about what I didn't do during COVID that I thought I might. But the bottom line is, whatever they wrote on your, I don't know, third or fourth grade report card, like the nuns used to write some smart-ass comment on the back, and just to give you one more kick in the ass. But it's still true. Kathleen does not make productive use of her free time. Absolutely. It's like, it's not going to change. Like, for a minute, I was like, maybe I'll learn Spanish. And then I was like, yeah, but they're doing so good at English, I'll still be behind. I mean, there's no way I can catch up to all of my Spanish-speaking friends. Their English is perfect. So I just gave up on that. Like, I didn't really – the only thing I did was I taught myself how to gamble through DraftKings on my phone. And you won't even believe the things you can bet on. Like, if you're an addict, you should turn off that notification thing because, like, every 5 minutes it's bing, hey, there's a tennis tournament starting in Eastern Europe, Kathleen. Would you like to get in on this? How about a cricket?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to put $50 on any lady that name ends in Ova. One of them's got to hit. And literally, like, a cricket match in Mumbai. And I'm like, well, there's only 2 teams. I don't know how to play cricket, but you got a 50-50 chance, and they're offering you a 50% power boost if you do it right now. And so
I had a guy that actually listened to the show and said, Iggy, I know you like to gamble, and I really know a lot about darts, and there's the dart championship. I can give you some. The guy gave me 4 out of 5 winners in darts.
Wow. I didn't realize that was like something you could bet on. I thought that was just a drunk activity. I didn't.
Yeah.
With your friends, you could bet, but wow, professional? I didn't know.
Yeah, I was like that too. I did a lot of gambling, golf, and because golf was one of the things that, came back quicker than other things.
Yeah, and just the individual bets, just to pick somebody in the top 20. Boom, winner. Not that hard.
And they try to get your money more. When you're losing, they actually tell you, if you want to check out now, we'll only take half of your bet. And I said, well, I'm losing my ass. Yeah, I'll take half of it.
Well, that's what I said to my brother. Can you imagine in Vegas, like if you went up to a cage and made a bet on, say, the Cowboys to win, and then halfway through they're not winning, if you walked up to the cage and said, this isn't looking very good for me. Could I just get like $50 on my 100 back? They'd probably have you thrown out because they think you were crazy. And I said, that had to be, I'm going to bet the Catholics somehow appeasing the super Christians saying, well, because they're the ones that always say, no, it's a sin, and they're going to lose all their money, and then we always have to have some compromise where we go, well, we'll just let them get out of the bet, if it's bad. And then they go, oh, okay, but they really don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, and then we were talking about this before we started the interview, is that now you're in Nashville that has sports betting but doesn't have casinos. Missouri, we have casinos. We don't have sports betting, but you can go right across the river on your phone, and as soon as you get over to Illinois, you can download the app for DraftKings, and you can bet. But then as soon as you go back over, you try to cash out. Now you're not allowed. So you got to make sure your tires are right over the line, or else you're fucked.
Yeah. Yes, you have to. Even Mattress Mac, the guy who made the biggest Super Bowl bet ever in the history of ever, he bet on the Bengals without the points. He had to drive from Texas over to Louisiana, cross his tires across the state line, make the bet. Now, sadly for Mac, he didn't win. So there was no reason to go back to Louisiana. But I'm like, this reminds me when we were a kid, like you could only get alcohol on Sundays in Illinois and places.
Yeah.
Like what? All these, it's like old-timey liquor laws. Eventually, I think everybody will catch up. I don't know what the resistance is, but yeah, it's silly that you could just drive your car, especially like if you lived, downtown, just drive over to Illinois and make your bets.
That's it. You don't even have to be in the parking lot, just as long as your car is over the line.
We could start a whole show called Enablers, and it could come on before intervention. And it's like, look, here's how you gamble, and here's how you do it. And this is all you got to do. It's so easy. It just convince people. Yeah, it would be a fun show to watch.
So we did so many new things during the pandemic. I'm like you. I think I watched every show on Netflix to the point where you were talking Spanish. I watched a show that I like these shows about drug lords. And
I do too.
And the show,
I watched all of the Narcos ones.
Yeah, and I didn't know what a telenovela was. One of our producers said, you're watching a telenovela. I watched this thing called Señor Cielos, whatever. And I started watching it, and it got pretty good. But it's all in subtitles, so I'm reading everything. And it was like 10 episodes in, and I went to check. I said, I wonder how many episodes. There were 78 episodes in each season, and there were 8 seasons. I watched like 700 episodes of this thing, and I couldn't speak a lick of Spanish after it was over. But I was hooked. I said, I can't. I'm tired of reading subtitles, but I'm hooked now. I only got 700 more episodes to go. It took me a year and a half. The pandemic was over, and I was still watching this show.
I didn't have anything that went on that long. But, like if it's on Netflix, you can turn that off. But the problem is, like my friend Brian, he hates subtitles. And I said, well, Brian, you can turn it off and just, you can put, if you want the subtitles, turn it on or off. But to me, when it's subtitled, it doesn't look right. Like, because I'm reading it instead of looking at them.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't sound the same when they came in and go, oh, blah, blah, and then slam a hot tequila. I don't know. In English, it just doesn't seem the same.
Now, during the pandemic, you did start the podcast, Madigan's Pubcast. And I know you said before, I'm not getting into podcasts, but you did it, and it's so popular, you're still doing it.
Yeah, I always said no because, A, I didn't have the time. B, I felt like every comedian I know. I mean, it got to the point with the podcasting that I told my comedian friends, I'm like, the only one I would do is if my mom starts one. I'm not doing these anymore. Because then they were bringing them to you. They're like, well, I know you can't get over here, but I could bring it down to the club or coming out. And I'm like, no. But I got so bored, and like my siblings have jobs, so like they don't want to listen to my crap. Where I'm like, hey man, there's a cobra loose in Grand Prairie, Texas, and they can't find it. And my brother's like, yeah, well, other breaking news, I have a job, and then he'd hang up. I'm like, you don't want to talk about that? So then I thought, well, maybe I'll just talk like that and do my stupid stories on the podcast and see it. Now people really like it. Now I'd feel stupid stopping, so it'll just keep going till it goes, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought, if you did one, you're funny as hell. You've been doing it forever. You have a great following. But it is time-consuming, and if you want to do it every week, and then there's 1 week you get up, I really don't want to do this today, but I got to do it, and but if you find fun stuff to talk about, it's, and I want to hear from you. I mean, a lot of people have asked me to do a podcast, and I said, what am I going to talk about? I don't want to do guest because
oh, it's terrible because you're the person begging all your friends, and then they say yes, and then they cancel the night before. Oh, I got drunk. I'm too hungover. Find somebody else, and then it's so. I don't know. Then you've committed yourself to that time, and I'm with you. No guest. No, I had one, Ron White, because he was at my house, and everybody they didn't want to hear from him, so I said, "You're fired."
Sorry, you're done. Sorry, nobody want to hear from you. Go back into the other room. Get out of here.
Exactly.
And I know your stand-up specials are so great. I still go back, and I know it's like 5 years old now, 6 years. But Bothering Jesus is one of my favorite ones. But you have a new one. You just taped. Is it ready to go? I know you taped a special in Denver.
Well, I was supposed to, but this is the second time it's gotten moved because it was supposed to be in February 19th, but you have to decide 3 to 4 months before if you're really going to do it that day. You have to commit. And at that point, it was November or I don't know, October when Omicron or however you pronounce it was going crazy. And everybody was like, well, the crews keep getting sick and it's kind of a semi-disaster. Do you want to just wait? And I go, whatever. It's already been 100 years. I'll just wait. So we'll tape it in June instead. But I feel at least then, hopefully stuff will be back to normal. Because the thing with, the mask and the vax cards, and it's just, it was fine, but it was weird. And I'd like the weirdness to be gone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, now the mask mandate in Missouri, and at least in St. Louis, is now over, so. But I still wear them because it's I saw a Kid Rock concert in Texas where nobody was wearing a mask, and and there's 50,000 people, and I said, now half these people are going to get COVID after this concert, but nobody cares. So
no, they don't. I don't think they care. And I always used to way before COVID, if you're in a big airport like New York or LAX, all of the international Asians always wore masks anyway, and I used to think, what do they know that we don't know? But I don't think it was anything other than their culture. In China, you're just wearing a mask half the time because the air's so polluted and stuff. But on a plane, I still don't. I always used to get sick on planes. I haven't been sick on planes since they've worn a mask. I just mean a cold, not even COVID. I don't trust their ventilation system. I know they brag about them, but there's just no way you can't convince me it's not all the same air.
You're 100% correct, though, because I said this on the air when the first year I went and covered the AVN, the Porn Awards. And, I mean, this is just 20,000 mass non-washed perverts walking around this place. But all of the Asians had masks on. And I got back, and I was sick as a dog. And, I said, God, they've been wearing these forever. And then when the pandemic hit and everybody's wearing masks, I said, well, I go to the AVNs. The Asians were wearing them then. They were wearing them before the pandemic. Maybe there's something to that.
Yeah. I mean, well, why not? If it gets too hot, take it off for a minute. But at least on planes, yeah. But for the rest of everything else, it's going to be fun to just have normal shows again. And, like, the Vax card thing, as a performer, I'm like, well, I guess we need to open all these doors like an hour earlier than normal because you got to check all that stuff.
Yeah.
It becomes like another thing on top of a thing. I used to just sit there and go, how long are the bar lines to decide if the show should start on time or should we give them 15 minutes to get more drinks? And now it's like, okay, did they get their vax checked? Is everybody in? Is there any fighting? Okay, does anyone need to be thrown out before we even start? I mean, that never used to happen, like pre-throwing people out. So I'm excited that at least for the shows it should be back to normal.
Yeah, and it's in the summer, come right around the corner, spring. So hopefully we're heading in that direction. But I do have to ask because the specials you've done, I mean, this one's for Amazon. You've done it for HBO. You've done it for Netflix. How are they different? I would expect HBO to be more hands-on, and when's this going to be done? And Netflix is like, yeah, fuck it. When it's done, send it to us. We don't care. How is it like the three different companies doing a special?
Well, I've never done one for Amazon, so I don't know yet, but so far so good. They're very nice. Netflix is pretty much how you described it, very loosey-goosey, and I haven't done an HBO one in so long.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they're still doing them, but yeah, they used to be hyper-involved, and like they'd go over your whole act, and you'd have to have meetings about that. Netflix doesn't care. They don't care what I say. I mean, as far as I know, no one's ever said anything. I mean, maybe they did care. I don't know, but no one contacted me about it. So seems to be a lot more freedom because they're kind of taking the position. We're just a bulletin board. We're just posting stuff that people made, and whether they made it or we made it and sold it to them, they don't seem to care. So it's very nice to not have somebody breathing down your neck, especially when I know I'm not doing anything bizarre anyway. Like, it's not like I'm saying anything terribly controversial that's going to cause a riot. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, you never have.
No, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
It's not my, I hate controversy. I don't like being involved in any of that stuff. So leave that to the other people that seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, and this is a podcast, so 5 days a week on the show, I slipped a couple of times. I've said shit on the air. We've had to dump it. But when I get on a podcast, I say, you know what, I can cuss, I'm going to.
Yeah, so you do whatever you want.
I apologize. I dropped a couple of F-bombs.
You know what,
though?
I've done radio for so long where you couldn't cuss at all. I forget that I can. Yeah. So, I don't. Because I've been trained like a monkey that you just can't do that.
Well, that's why I like doing the podcast. Because the podcast, to me, when I'm doing a podcast, it's like you and I or whoever, many of you are at a bar just sitting and bullshitting. So I just talk how I would normally talk. Where on the air, I have to catch myself where I'm ready to say, what a poo head or something. You got to catch yourself. The podcast, you can just be yourself. That's why I like doing them.
Yeah, it's fun.
How do you get, because you're getting back on the road, and you're somebody who travels 250 days out of the year, so that year and a half, we couldn't do anything, but now you're back out doing this special. How do you get in comedic shape? I mean, to write material. Do you go to a little club in Nashville? Okay, I got some new stuff I'm going to work on. I'm going to go hang out here and I'm going to do some material.
Yeah, there's a club here that's very similar to like the Funny Bone in St. Louis or something, just a smaller club. But mostly it's just get on the road and do as many shows as you can. Like the short sets aren't really that helpful. But to just keep, try to do, if you're in the theater thing, it's usually Thursday, Friday, maybe 2 Saturday, and just do it every week and keep going. I mean, I can't write if I'm not working. Well, I could, but I just don't. Go back to that report card in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
It's just not my nature.
Sister
right.
Cat Patricia.
Yeah, exactly. But if I'm working, I'm writing. So, but that was the whole thing with COVID. I'm like, well, I'm not really right. But then as soon as it started open, I started going to the tiny clubs to get back in the swing of it, which worked. Thank God.
And how big are you with social media? I'm one of those people that I don't mind if you're on there posting pictures of your dog or your food, but some people, it seems, especially during the pandemic, well, everybody's getting pissed off during the pandemic. I've never seen so much hate in my life. But people get so bent out of shape over everything that goes on social media. I'm like, if it makes that person happy, why do you care?
I don't know, and bizarrely enough, I think the worst is the most backlash is sports. Like, even over politics. Like, let's say on Twitter I put "Go Cards." Okay, that's all I write. Instantly, you and your arrogant St. Louis fan base can just go. I'm like, oh my God! And there'll just be paragraphs of, "You people think you're above and beyond," and blah blah blah. All I said, I didn't say, suck it Cubs. I didn't say. All I said was "Go Cards." It's so crazy but like Twitter to me is like walking into an Irish bar and everybody's had 3 Jamesons and wants to talk.
Yeah.
This could get weird. Instagram to me is like you smoke some pot and you just want to look at pictures of beagles, which is I love the beagle pictures. And then TikTok to me is like sitting next to somebody in the 90s who's done an 8-ball of cocaine, and I just want to get away from that person. I don't want anything to do with that person. It's too crazy. It's too blah, 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 So on Twitter, I participate a lot. Facebook, it's a work page, but stuff goes up on there. I don't really read it as much because it's so lengthy. Like, I just like Twitter, I just create my own news feed. I follow St. Louis Blues, ESPN, CNN, whatever, and then I just see the stuff I care about.
Yeah. And
other comedians, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, you'll be following me after today. I'll put this up and I'll tag you in it.
Absolutely.
But I think the world would be much easier if we could just communicate with each other in less than 140 characters. You don't need that many.
No, even for the biggest moments in history. The British are coming. Okay, I got it. We don't need to keep talking about where they're coming, how many. You'll find out. Just know they're coming. That's all you need to know for now.
Oh, if we only had Twitter back in the day. 4
words. Right. Hitler invaded Poland. Okay. Message sent. I know what's happening.
Pearl Harbor bomb coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, did you see on Twitter? Everybody get out. Get out.
Yeah.
Oh, God. And I do have to talk to you because I didn't know this about you. I mean, I've known and followed you forever. But I didn't know when you left St. Louis that your parents went and bought a resort in the Ozarks, and I didn't know that. And so you kind of know, You're watching Ozark, the series on Netflix, and it's kind of similar to what your parents when they bought the resort. Oh, my God.
It was so similar. Ours was called Madigan's Last Resort. It was off Highway W, like on the North Shore, like the 3-mile marker. And we had 12 cabins. We had a gas dock. There were gas wars. Like, everything was so similar. I'm like, who wrote this? And I Googled the guy, and he's from St. Charles and went to the lake every summer and worked at some resort. So I'm like, okay, valid enough then, because whoever is writing this, minus the heroin, you'd have to substitute that for meth. Like, I don't think we're sophisticated enough to have poppy fields that aren't dying. But he nailed the rest of it. I mean, albeit 30 years ago, they make it seem like it's now. My mom's very upset about that. She's like, they're making us look like hillbillies. We have a Panera now. I'm like, okay, Mom, I don't think they wanted to spend the money to make everything look 35 years ago. But I'll let anybody know if I ever meet anybody at Netflix. I'll tell them you're upset.
Yeah. Were your parents washing money, too?
Were they what?
Were they laundering money?
Oh, laundering money? Yeah. No, I don't even think. Well, my dad might know how. Apparently, my mom knows how to kite checks. I never even heard of that term, but I brought it up in a podcast when they were doing the video. She's like, "Oh, check kiting. We always used to do that when your father and I didn't have any money." I'm like, "What? What are you saying here?" It's just floating a check for 2 days so your check comes in. I mean, I get the concept of it, but I'm like, wow, were we that broke? I guess so.
Oh, I do have that. I outed. She's not no longer a friend anymore. She's kind of like this girl that I used to know that just likes to brag about shit. And she's after Ozark. She goes, "Oh my God, I used to live in the Ozarks. All those places they're showing, I've been to every one of them." I said, "They filmed it in Atlanta, right?"
Yeah, exactly.
And she
defriended
me after that. I don't get to see.
All you got to do is see them big old tall Georgia pine trees As soon as they are using some, I think, valid overhead shots.
Like, the overshot with the lake and the things, yeah.
Yeah, but once it gets down on the ground and we're not using the overhead free stuff, because I think Missouri had a crack at it, and I think we somehow didn't come to the right agreement, and they said, well, then forget it, we're going to Georgia.
Yeah, this state will not give tax breaks to companies that want to shoot movies here, anything. They will not give them the tax breaks that other states will give them. That's why we don't get any of those things. Yeah,
well, they should probably rethink that when we're featured there and it's not us.
Yeah. Kim Tucci, God love his soul, Kim Tucci from the Pasta House, was big into that, trying to bring movie companies and get movies in here, and would have meetings like on a weekly basis about just drop the taxes. You know how much money that's going to bring into the city and the state, and they would never do it. So,
well, there you go. Then they're just going to make movies about St. Louis and Chicago.
Yes,
so there you have it, people. That's what you want.
Yes, but you don't have to worry about this. This Saturday at the Stiefel Theater, 7:30. Kathleen Madigan will be in town doing her stand-up. Do you have ranch? Where did that come from?
Do you have any ranch?
Do you have any ranch?
It's a very, very long story. But in a nutshell, my sister's friends' kids stayed at my house. They got dropped off here. And I said I would watch them. I didn't really have to watch them. They're 13 and 14 or whatever. But literally for 3 days, all they said to me, they looked at me like I was the servant that came with the house. And they were like I'm your Airbnb host. And all they would say is, do you have any ranch? And, I mean, it went on to the point where it was ludicrous. And then since my sister did that to me, then no matter what she would say to me, I would just say that back. Like, even if it was something serious, like, you know, mom and dad are racing to the doctor. I'm like, yeah, great. Do you have any ranch? She's like, I'm serious. I'm like, yeah, so am I. They eat it like we would eat ketchup, but even more. And, like, they're putting it on things I like ranch with wings or salad, but I don't think my palate hadn't thought of all the things that they put ranch on. Oh, my God. I think they'd put it on cereal if you let them, or just eat it out of a bowl.
Oh.
Yeah, and maybe I would if it didn't have 1 million calories, but they're young and they can eat whatever they want. So I guess good for you.
Well, that's a good title. That's it's something you hear all the time. If I was going to do a stand-up, I guess mine would be "Shut Up, Moron." I hear that.
Well, there you go. See, you already know it.
I hear that almost every day on the show. So that would be my stand-up. Hey, we're looking forward to it. Hopefully I can come back and say hi on Saturday. But if you're looking for tickets, it's pretty much sold out, but there's still some single tickets available. So call the Stiefel Theater and see Kathleen Madigan this Saturday at 7:30. And where can people find you as far as your podcast, on Twitter? Give out all that pertinent information.
If you just go to my website, that'll take you everywhere. And then you don't even have to. Just go to KathleenMadigan.com. And there's only one other Kathleen Madigan, and she writes very smart, hard articles about global economies. That would not be me. So, and I've met that lady, and she's super duper smart. I feel like she gets railroaded. But, there's just my KathleenMadigan.com. And then it's got all the stuff on there, Twitter, the podcast, and all the Instagram, TikTok, which I don't really do a lot on, but you're welcome to follow me.
You don't do any dancing?
No, I don't do any dancing. I don't know. Maybe I'll post a cat video or something, but that's about it.
That'll bring you 1 million followers.
Yeah, so it's all on the website.
Kiddo, thanks for the time, and we'll see you Saturday night. Can't wait.
All right, see you soon. Coming for emos.
All right, kiddo.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.